From this panel that you just did,
Yes.
what was the most important message you wanted to get across to the attendees?
The most important message that I wanted to get across to the attendees, I just wanted to share with them my experience of working in this space for over 10 years. It is a space that's ripe for creators who want to create. Making money is still the challenge, as it's always been with creators, and the landscape of monetization is constantly changing. And it's just, I wanted to share with them my experience with my clients, how they've made money, some of the strategies that we've employed to monetize content, and some of the structures that I see kind of being set up for the next bout of content that's going to come out.
Well, it's all about content. So what kind of good advice would you give to content producers out there?
What kind of advice would I give the content producers out there? Constantly work at it, always be creating. Especially in the YouTube space, it's all about consistency of content, frequency of content, and it's also about being organic, right? You need to be organic.
Well, thank you so much for fabulous advice. We appreciate your time here, and we'll see you at the cocktail party.
Got it. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for hitting the red carpet with us. Albert Lai, thank you for joining us. Now, if you got any closing remarks? I know you just had a little bit of words out there, encouragement for independent filmmakers. What closing remarks you want to add to that?
So I think the key thing to remember is I'm on the technology side, and there's new devices coming out every single day. The next shiny new thing, there's different formats. There's a lot of headaches that everyone's trying to figure out from a distributor to consumer point of view. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is there that premium quality content? Because that is what's going to drive consumers to demand content from distributors. That's what's going to make distributors say, hey, I have a viable business model. I can engage with this audience. It all comes back to that content. And so from a content creator point of view and the producers of this content, for them, it's a question of how do they stay healthy? Meaning, how do they ensure that they can bring together the right content and the right talent to create this great content? But most importantly, they need to decide how can they ensure that they have longevity. And a lot of those decisions means, do they take their future into their own hands and create their own standalone initiative? Or do they take the effort to try to be smart about licensing across different territories? So a lot of challenging questions to answer, but the key is that there is demand, and that demand stems from great premium content.
Yeah, being an independent content creator yourself, a lot of business aspects goes into creating a film, not just about the storytelling. And just sharing a little bit about that as far as like the business side of handling content.
Yeah, so from the perspective of once you have that content, then the question is, where do you go? Where's the next step, right? Is it somebody that may step up to the table, and whether it's let's say a Netflix or an Amazon, and that may seem to be the easiest route because they can take a piece of content and because of their ubiquity, all of a sudden it becomes available across the world, across different devices. But what happens is you may end up losing control over your audience. And what we heard from earlier today is you also may realize that you've lost revenue that could have been, your gain. And so that can be significant. So that becomes that question, which is easy may not be the right path for longevity. And so when you're thinking about content, it's not only how you license that content, but also understanding where the audience is going. As the audience shifts, not just from theatrical to a television, but to mobile, there's more opportunities to ensure that you're creating content that is appropriate for the consumption.
So if anybody wanted to follow you, get more knowledge about who you are and what you're all about, how can we see you on social media? Are you on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and all that?
You'll see my dog on a lot of social media, but admittedly, I'm fairly private when it comes to social media. But I certainly participate in panels, write blog posts and articles about issues that I believe affect the industry, both from a technology perspective, but also from a business perspective, to ensure that, again, we have a healthy ecosystem across content creators, distributors, and consumers.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you. Pleasure.
Sure. So my name is JC Kangilla. I run the business at New Form Digital.
Form Digital. Now, speaking of business, and I know you have spoke earlier at the panel here. What kind of closing remarks that you have for your independent filmmaker and your content creator?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new day right now. There's a lot of opportunity for digital creators. So we work with best-in-class YouTubers, typically people that have millions of fans on social platforms, and we put them in scripted vehicles. We put them in shows like thrillers, like comedies, like dramas, both as actors and but also behind the camera talent, so writers, directors, and producers. So what we're seeing right now is people are building audiences on online platforms, and they come to places like New Form to kind of refine those talents and build into kind of bigger, more elevated productions.
All right, how big does your audience to get to your level getting those scripted shows? How big do you have to get? How many subscribers or views do you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule. What we look for is, one, that you understand digital audiences so that you make an effort to kind of engage audiences and you build it up over time, and two, that you can tell a story, right? And so storytelling is really important still in this world. It's not just straight to camera vlog style, or I should say, a different way. The people that do that well, that are straight to camera vlog style, have figured out the way to get people excited about their platforms, and they're much more savvy than people typically give them credit for.
And what kind of studios do you guys work with, or who are your partners?
Yeah. So we are a studio. So we typically our process is to deficit finance pilots. So we produce pilots. Typically, we've produced 25 in the last 2 years. We then take those out to distributors. We now work with 10 different distributors, and we've sold 19 different shows to those distributors. The distributors include people like Verizon, Go90, AOL, Vimeo, Maker Studios, really anyone that wants digital content right now.
What kind of hot YouTubers do we see that you guys are partnered with?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about a few of the YouTubers that we work with. The guy that jumps to the front of my mind is a guy named PJ Ligori. PJ has 800,000 subscribers on YouTube. He works in this fantasy world that we worked with him to kind of develop a show called Oscar's Hotel, which we debuted on Vimeo late last year. It set the single-day sales record on their transactional platform, so all their fans came out and bought that show, and we were super excited to work with PJ.
So there is money to be made in these kind of videos. And monetization, how big is that to perform?
Yeah, I think differently than 2 or 3 years ago, there's a real business here. There's a business in new platforms, there's a business in existing platforms investing in content, and there's a business for big people that have big audiences online, and we're seeing a lot of benefits for working on kind of all three of those groups.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. One more time, give us your outlet.
JC Kangilla, I'm from New Form Digital. You can get to us at newformdigital.com.
And you guys have any social media?
We do. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and increasingly growing our Snapchat audience. So go check us out on Snapchat.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you.